So you want to get on Remy's Ratatouille adventure. My Rise of the Resistance video helped 17,800 people get on that ride, and now I'm going to help you get on Epcot's latest awesome attraction. Come along with us here on Carousel of Douglas. All right, folks, you're here for Remy's Ratatouille adventure, and here is how you're going to get onto it. I have some tips that are surefire ways to get on this ride. It worked every time with Rise of the Resistance. It's going to work every time with Remy's Ratatouille adventure. Let's get going. All right, two things first. I will tell you that you have 7 a.m. boarding pass time and 1 p.m. boarding pass time. And I'm going to give you tips actually for both. But we're going to start with 7 a.m. But a tip that works for every single time you ever try to get one of these boarding groups is don't be on the Disney Wi-Fi. Disney Wi-Fi tanks whenever they have anybody trying to get on a boarding group at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. I've actually run Ookla speed tests at the time and watched it at like 6:40 a.m. be just fine, good speeds, and then at around 7 a.m. it tanks. You do not want to be slow when you're trying to get a boarding group, so stay off the Disney Wi-Fi. One of the great things about the 7 a.m. boarding group is you can do it from anywhere. If you're leaving your house at 7 a.m. up here in Philadelphia where I live, you can still do it as long as you have a park reservation. So what you need to do is make sure that you are isolated, especially if you're on Disney property. A couple things I recommend. Step out onto your balcony because you actually find that you have a stronger signal out on your balcony, or find a great spot. I recently stayed at the Boardwalk Inn, and I recommend staying in this spot right here. And those places will keep you from being near people and making sure that you have the best, strongest, and clearest signal. So make sure you're isolating yourself from other people so that you have the fastest and clearest signal and the strongest connection to those cell towers, okay? So make sure you're isolated. Make sure you're watching the clock. That's tip number 3, watching the clock is actually very, very important. Some people get distracted. You gotta be paying attention. When that clock is ready to tick over from 6:59 to 7 a.m., you wanna start going. Especially use your cell phone clock. It does seem that Disney is timed in to the cell phone clock. Or if you really wanna make sure you're being super accurate, go to time.gov and you'll actually get a great world clock that is set to the atomic time, and it's pretty close to the time on your phone. But I have noticed that Disney does seem to be using the clock time on your phone, probably because so many people are trying to do it from the app. All right, the time has come. It's 7 a.m. and you need to get that boarding group. You want to look at the screen. You're going to have the option to join a waiting list. You need to make sure you click on that join the queue button. It'll be blue. It'll be this really royal blue color. They often use it in the app. And as soon as it turns that blue color, you want to click and get into it. And once you've gotten into it, you want to ignore the friends and family list. I know that sounds ridiculous, but ignore it. As long as they have a pass into the park and they're in your friends and family list, they'll be checked off. And if they're not, you can solve it later. And I will talk about that in a moment. But you want to get past that screen as quickly as possible, and you want to hit the join the queue, and that's it. You just got to wait and see if you get it. You need to be quick. One of the things I always say is be fast, but be deliberate. Make sure you're really paying attention to that screen. A lot of people talk about refresh, refresh, refresh. All you got to do is make sure you refresh at the right time. You don't have to keep refreshing. That will slow you down. Refresh it, and as soon as that thing turns blue, you go. All right? You just need to pay attention for that button to turn blue. Now, one of the things that happens is at 7 a.m., so many people are trying to get those passes that it's actually way more difficult at 7 a.m. than it is at 1 p.m. And here's why. You're going to be in the park. There's less people trying to get it because a good number of people got it in the morning, and now you're in the park, and if you're paying attention, you're already got one up on a lot of people. A lot of people are on rides, or they're in the middle of a meal, or they're in a queue, and they're not paying attention. You, however, are going to be paying attention because you're listening to my tips. So at 1 p.m., find a nice isolated spot in the park. In Epcot, I highly recommend back in Morocco. There's a lot of isolated spots back there. It won't be around a lot of people. Or maybe near the waterfall in Canada, because that area is often devoid of people because they don't even realize it's back there. You go up the stairs, past the shops, and you'll see that back there. And that's another good isolated spot in World Showcase. It's really difficult to be isolated in Future World, so I'd recommend that you try not to be isolated over there, but you could possibly do it near where the characters meet by Journey into Imagination, you know, where you see Joy and Pooh and they're kind of running around in that grass area right now. But those are the areas I recommend for being isolated from other people. Now, here's the thing. I can tell you with 100% certainty that I have always gotten a 1 p.m. boarding group whenever I've tried. So I actually recommend sometimes going for the 1 p.m. and not worrying about the 7 a.m. because that just causes all kinds of stress and agita. And I will tell you that that spot is amazing at 1 p.m. because so many less people are trying to do it. You actually don't have to be as aggressive as you do at 7 a.m. Now, I'm going to actually add in some tips here that I got in Hollywood Studios about Rise of Resistance, but I will tell you that they work wonders for the Epcot Remy's Ratatouille adventure. Here, check them out. They came straight from a cast member. I have some efficiency tips from Amelia that I'm going to be adding in to my new Rise of Resistance boarding group collection, because I am now 3 for 3 on boarding passes, 2 of them in the afternoon. Her new tips included mine. Don't be on the Disney Wi-Fi. Thank you, Amelia, for that. She also pointed out that you should have all the apps closed out on your phone that aren't My Disney Experience. And then you need to make sure that your phone is not in low power mode, because that actually slows your phone down. And if you can do LTE over 5G, do that instead, because the 5G signal in the park is not all that strong, but the LTE signal is maximum bars. So there's the Amelia efficiency tips from a guest experience team member. I hope you liked those tips. That cast member was so awesome. She gave me so many extra tips that I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put them all in from that previous video. And that was again about Rise of Resistance, but I know that they're gonna work for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. So make sure you check out those. One of the last things I want to mention is that I actually have testimonials from random people inside the parks who happened to be near me while I was trying to get a 1 p.m. boarding group, and they were telling me all their tricks, and I was like, hey, look, I gotta tell you, I actually think that you've been led astray. Try my tips. They didn't believe me at first, and then they followed it, and they got boarding groups just like they wanted to. They were isolated, they got off the Wi-Fi, even though they were told they have to use the Disney Wi-Fi. I'm telling you, don't use it. It will slow you down. But at 1 p.m., I have testimonials, so check those out.
We got boarding group 98, no Wi-Fi, isolated spot. So we did Wi-Fi at the room at 7. System crashed on us, didn't get in the first time. So much better.
Yeah, 7 people. 7 people. See, I told you. We got on the ride, they got on the ride, everyone got on the ride. Now it's your turn to get on the ride. Good luck. Follow my tips. If you like the video, hit the like button. I'd also appreciate it if you'd help us out by hitting the subscribe button. Comment down below that you got on the ride so people can see that these tips do work. I guarantee it. Have fun, ride the ride, and enjoy riding with Remy and Emile. Until then, because I don't like to say goodbye because I'm going to see you real soon, see you, bye!